The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge.
Red alert, we coming through. Eyes wide, no snooze. Breaking news, we moving truth. Ain't no time to lose. Time to cook, feel the vibe now. Red alert, it's our time now. Yeah, stay woke, keep it locked. We never stop. Red alert, truth to power, now let's rock.
What up, gang, and welcome back to Red Alert. I am your host, Professor Red. And today, we're going to jump off into a subject that has intrigued me for years now, but it's always been on the back burner, as I was always interested in researching and understanding the past and civilizations of the past, but somehow Tartaria was kind of just an echo on the radar, not something that I took seriously. So the other day I decided to I put Tartaria in TikTok, and oh my God, I went down the rabbit hole. Let's get into it.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their origins?
That's trippy, right? Ancient civilization buried under the mud for centuries. On the surface, when you first hear something like that, you know, it kind of just bounces off your head. Just like, yeah, okay. Just kind of like flat earth and things like that. People don't even really give it consideration. And I was the same way. But the more I took it seriously and looked into it, that would explain a lot, especially when it relates to architecture and construction for the time periods when these courthouses and cathedrals and things were built. It kind of don't match up, the technology and the time period. Let's continue.
They turned the ether grid against itself, hijacked the somatic fields, triggered a resonance collapse. Stone became liquid, mountains bled, the ground rose and swallowed whole cities. That's what the mud was. Not sediment, not flood water. Resonance fallout from a frequency war. Tartarian cities weren't primitive. They were powered by resonant architecture. Buildings designed to generate and receive frequency. Domes, antennas, star forts, giant tuning forks disguised as monuments. These structures didn't just look beautiful, they harnessed free energy pulled from the ether, distributed wirelessly through geometry and sound. The enemy didn't just want to destroy the people, they needed to shut down the grid. And to do that, they had to collapse the frequency field. There's a phenomenon called soil liquefaction. Vibrate the ground at just the right frequency, and the solid turns to sludge. Not water, not mud, but a state change triggered by vibration. The earth becomes a trap. Foundations fail, stone sinks. And if it's done on a massive scale, you get the mud flood. It didn't fall from the sky, it rose from beneath, triggered by resonance weapons. This was geoacoustic warfare, and it worked. Ancient texts speak of trumpets that leveled cities, walls that fell from shouting. temples that hummed themselves into collapse. These weren't myths, they were acoustic weapons. Tartaria likely had its own frequency defenses, so to break it, the controllers needed tech even stronger, tuned to the exact harmonic signature of Tartarian architecture. This wasn't random destruction, it was targeted dissonance, resonance sabotage. The same way opera singers shatter glass, but scaled up to city-wide collapse. Every reset needs a story, a cover, a myth, and so they blamed it on floods, natural disasters, time, chaos. They rewrote the maps, changed the calendars, buried the history, literally. But the truth is buried in plain sight. They silenced the cathedrals, they shattered the grid. But they didn't stop using sound, they just inverted it. The war on frequency never ended, it just changed pitch. Modern cities don't just look soulless, they're engineered to be spiritually sterile. Box shapes, low ceilings, right angles that deflect energy, fluorescent lighting that drains your aura. None of it flows, none of it sings.
So apparently a war was waged where they used sonic resonance to create liquefaction, which we mistake as mud because of the effects of it, and that's what caused the mud flood. So it wasn't like a natural disaster, it was apparently the result of a conflict of some sort.
Across the world and cities in Europe, Asia and the Americas, a noticeable pattern repeats itself. I mean those buildings with windows below street level, with doors that open directly into earth, entire floors buried underground, yet clearly designed to be above it. Some believe this points to a global catastrophe that didn't just cover buildings in mud, but may have erased an entire civilization. The very civilization that originally built these structures. Intrigued? This civilization was known as Tartaria, which you can actually find in a lot of maps before around 1800s. Even more curious, the architectural styles that have remained from those years today, massive stone buildings, intricate designs, sometimes seem far too advanced for the time periods they're assigned to. Some suggest that this catastrophe wasn't so ancient at all and aligns with the period when the Tartarian Empire started disappearing from maps and books. And it's not just the buildings. Strange soil layers, sudden deposits of mud and sand, and buried infrastructure show up across continents in ways that natural geology struggles to explain. In city after city, from St. Petersburg to Paris and New York, older buildings and excavations reveal a hidden layer of truth. Entire floors being found beneath the street-level surface. Symmetrical facades, almost as if the real ground floor is now buried. Basement entrances that clearly used to be street-level before. The curious part is that despite this clear evidence, there are often no records explaining why or how the land around us rose so dramatically.
Now, do you really believe that these elaborate places were just built with hammer and chisel? And look at the other buildings around these elaborate buildings. Why is it that they're so plain? Now, to me, there had to have been a more technical, advanced society that just left all these cathedrals and buildings behind. Because think about it, look at the level of detail with all these different videos and these old cathedrals and buildings, and all of a sudden we just leave that and start designing everything differently. These buildings have had to have been here way before we were. Now, of course, this video is for entertainment purposes only, but you can tell the level of difference between then and now.
All of that architecture is breathtaking and amazing. It leaves me speechless. It's literally a level above even architecture based on today's standard, and appears to be built to be in harmonic resonance, to provide healing and free energy to the masses, and it was somehow ended. The plug was pulled on all of it. Sounds trippy, but the more we dig, the more, because none of those pictures are AI. All that is authentic.
What could have caused this flood in 1813? It was caused by the Great Flood of 1802 following a 600-foot tsunami, and the photograph shows the waters receding 11 years later, and the buildings that were underwater beginning to appear on top. Some have doubts, saying that the camera was invented in 1839, how they photographed the flood of 1813. Well, the camera was invented long ago during the Tartars, and after Tartaria was decimated, destroyed by the Great Flood of 1802, the camera was just reintroduced by parts that control the world today. So the photo in question was taken from the roof of another building, or more likely, from a flying object, for example, a balloon, which was used a lot at the time, and of an individual who survived the Great Flood and had a camera with them.
So that's an apparently aerial photo from 1813. There's so much wrong with that statement. The camera wasn't invented till 1839-ish, and we definitely didn't have flight in the early 1800s. But if you bring in a covered up or a lost civilization into play who had hot air balloons, and like they said in the video, we rediscovered the camera, then it's not so far-fetched. I don't know. This is the Free Thinkers Rock channel, so I just thought I'd throw it out there. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and if you want us to continue with a part 2, let me know, and we'll dive in deeper. Until next time, P-Red out.